there's something that, a thread that runs through everything I try to do. The word integrity is very prominent in everything that I do with all of my ventures, and it's actually in commitment to integrity. It's part of my logo. I'd like to hear from Peter and Ed because, you know, Peter, when you were handling duties as the Attorney General for New Jersey, I know how important that issue was for you. And Ed, I've had numerous conversations about integrity with Ed to the point where, you know, he's given me his deep down philosophy about how he likes to do business and what a handshake means to him. Maybe let's just go to Peter first and then come to Ed. Talk a little bit about maintaining integrity through one's career.
Well, at the end of the day, all you have is your word and your reputation. I mean, that's really all you have, and it's something that it takes a lifetime to build and a day to destroy. But it comes as a result of your interactions with other people over time, where you are consistent in how you treat them. You're honest with people, you're forthright with people, you do what you say you can do. If you can't do it, you can't do it. I think that most people can accept bad news. What they can't accept is someone who just won't tell them the truth when it really matters. And so it takes a great deal of personal commitment in one's daily endeavors. It also takes, let me take integrity to a different point, and that is making sure that the job you do is really your best. Now, one of the challenges that any business has is having lazy people in the business. Having people, you know what it's like when you call a customer service office and they seem like they don't want to be bothered with you. You say, excuse me, but is this customer service? I'm sorry to bother you with your job. And you've had these experiences, and you almost, I'm dealing with a case right now with a client that is being examined by a regulator, and part of the issue is what kind of information or misinformation is being given by customer service representatives. And part of my question is, does anybody in this office ever call your customer service number to find out what they tell people? Because most businesses don't. And in my view, the work you do really defines who you are. It doesn't mean that's all that you are, but it does mean that if you take pride in your endeavors, and if you are, you try to be the best professional you can be, and if you really pride yourself on making sure that your service is among the best and your products are among the best, ultimately you will displace those in the market who don't take the same pride in their work. And you see it over and over and over in the business world. The reason Apple came on strong is because their operating system was far more simple to use and far more creative than Microsoft. Their equipment got to be far simpler to use than buying IBM's equipment or anybody else in the market. And so from these simple principles of giving the customer something that works, look at what happened to General Motors in Detroit. There was a time that the major car manufacturers in the world were in the United States. Those days are long gone, and those jobs with it. And you never thought that South Korea would produce high-quality cars. It certainly was never the case that the Japanese produced better cars than America. But that is what happens. Someone takes a great deal of pride in the products they produce and the services they deliver, and they displace those in the marketplace who don't take the same level of pride, and they don't show the customer the same level of respect. And that, to me, is the centerpiece of integrity, particularly in the entrepreneurial space, because sooner or later, someone will find you out that you give poor service and you charge an unfair price for it, and soon you will go out of business just as quickly as you emerged.
Ed?
I think that word integrity, sort of a heavy yoke to sit on your shoulders, be responsible for that every single minute of the day. But the way that I like to look at it is to treat everybody as if it's a family member. And to that point, I call everyone that I do business with eventually a dear friend, and then eventually close brother or sister. To that end, it starts off with a promise of an honorable handshake to behave in a certain way and to treat that person as if we've been friends for 20 years. As a matter of fact, in every one of my offices, photographs of all of the families of everyone that I do contracts with, the first thing we do is we exchange family photos because I say, I'm not IBM, I'm not a giant corporation, but I promise you that I will be watching out for your family if you will watch out for mine. And then we execute a contract. I don't know any other way other than that. I have found that slowly, without my even being aware of it, I grew a global business. I have relationships from well over 25, 30 countries, and those family photographs are in my office, and I am responsible for all of those families with every action that I take. That integrity, that yoke that I would carry is much easier when I just think of being responsible for someone else. And the outcome of that is, I think there was a term that went, there's a lot of noise and few deeds. In reality, the world in business constantly has the noise of promises, but it's the real deeds that turns into the business opportunities that build upon themselves. What I found is that time and time again, I was surprised by things. I had someone that I had just met who seemed so humble. You remember the old movie Columbo? He seemed to move around as if he had things all in his pockets. He was the head of Singapore Telecom USA. We became friends, and I never knew that that's what he did. Until one day he took out a crumbled business card and said, could we meet? I mean, and so we met. Fast forwarding 18 years later, I've had 3 different evolutions of business relationships. We have business partners in one of my companies, not he, but Singapore Telecom, a $30+ billion company. And it's always been about promises. It's always been about honorable handshakes. It's always been about honor whatever it is that you say, measure what you say, don't exaggerate what you say, don't overcommit to anything, but just perform to whatever is asked of you. And understand that there will be tests along the way. And what you're going to find out is, what do you do in the dark? It's easy to, when everyone is watching, behave at a certain level. But what do you do when it doesn't seem as if anyone is watching? And all of a sudden, this giant multi-billion-dollar company constantly is making errors. First, it's 20,000 on a monthly recurring that they were off on the numbers, and you inform them politely that they made an error. Then it's 250,000, till finally the last error, and you're beginning to wonder about their financial department. How could they keep making these errors as you keep reporting it? Till finally it's $2.5 million. And then you find out at MIT at a Sloan Fellows conference that you've been asked to attend with them, that what's gone on is that they were testing you all the time to find out about your honorability. And then when you finally realize that the outcome of honorable behavior is reward of relationship, and the relationship opens up every door. So every place that I went around the world, earned relationship by that integrity over time, turned around and kept bringing opportunities to me. To the point where if I was in China, after 5 or 6 years of time, I'd have friends that would be dealing in one area in technology, and a family member was in a tile manufacturing business, and they wanted me to introduce them to people because I was an honorable person who would be able to make those opportunities work for them. Integrity, does it matter? Yes, absolutely. Is it the door opener of many, many things? I think it is. Do we have to be responsible to not just be naive and not understand the consequences of the, that 80-20 rule where maybe not everyone is of that same mindset? Yes, I think that you learn that over time. But what I found is that if you decide who you are, and if that is a morally good person, and you are happy with that honorability, then you can actually go out, and that actually becomes the greatest marketing tool that you could ever use.
Thanks, Ed. And I know he lives by that. So he speaks what he lives.